Namaskar. A very good morning to all of you. Please forgive me for cutting the formalities. We don't have 3 minutes each. We all three have 3 minutes. But so I will utilize whatever time is left for me. It is a privilege and honor to preside over a function organized by Bar Council, especially the one which is to honor the advocates who have completed 50 years of service. I am honored that you have requested me to preside over this function. Legal profession of Bar Council has come a very long way since 1672, when the first modern, that's the British courts, were established in this country. At that time, Governor and Council could enroll attorneys. Mayor's Court came somewhere around 1726. Appeal used to lie to Governor and Council and then to Privy Council. At that time, the courts took over the control over the lawyers and they started enrolling attorneys. Somewhere at the end of the 18th century and the beginning of 19th century, 3 Supreme Courts, Calcutta, Madras, and Bombay came about. And they were the Supreme Court, Court of Records, and they took over entire control over the advocates. At that time, the position in the Mufassal towns were different. They were governed by Bengal Regulation 7 of 1793. Under this regulation, a court could enroll a person to plead a case or a pleader. And then came the High Courts. The 3 Supreme Courts were in fact downgraded. That was happened somewhere in the middle of the 19th century. And the some courts were upgraded. The first one was Diwani Adalat at Agra, that was upgraded to the High Court, Northwest Eastern Court, and established at Agra, and then shifted to Allahabad, now known as Allahabad High Court. The other high courts slowly and slowly came about, and they took over the entire control to manage the advocates. Bar Council at the time was not in the picture. Broadly, there are 6 kind of legal professions, were in existence: attorneys, advocates, wakils, pleaders, revenue agents, and muhtars. Then came Legal Practitioner Act of 1879, and that consolidated the entire legal system. But there was one problem, which to some extent was pointed out by Sister Michelle. It used the word person. Only a person could be enrolled. And at that time, the world over, the word person was being very narrowly interpreted. Women were not considered to be persons. And the first lady who filed an application of being enrolled, and that was before the Calcutta High Court, the matter was referred to the judicial side, and the 5 judges, full bench held, that she is not entitled to be enrolled as women are not persons. That was, I don't think it otherwise, because that was a traditional view world over. Then came a Parsi lady. She filed an application, her brother had shifted to Allahabad, and she filed an application by the name of Konya Sorakchi. She filed an application before the Allahabad High Court. And I come from that court. I am very proud of narrating this incident. The Allahabad High Court enrolled her on 9th of August 1921. And it was the first court anywhere in the world to recognize women also as a person. There were 2 US Supreme Court decisions. House of Lords decision, an almost unanimous decision of all courts that women are not innocent. Then the matter came up before Patna High Court. The matter was referred to three-judge full bench, and unfortunately, the Patna High Court chose to follow Calcutta High Court rather than Allahabad High Court, and they rejected the application of the plea. But the legislature responded, and they came out with the act known as Legal Practitioner Women Act of 1923, and it barred discrimination on the basis of sex. Till then, the Bar Council was not in existence. Then the Bar Council was born in 1926, the Bar Council Act. It gave power to the Bar Council that it could enroll an advocate. It could not enroll an advocate. It could lay down the qualification for an advocate. What should be the tradition of an advocate? But it had no power. Power is still vested with the High Court. And it's the High Court which could enroll, it's the High Court which could sort of discipline. And ultimately, the power came to Bar Council in 1961 by the Act. Why this transfer? A great responsibility is thrust upon the shoulders of the Bar Council. Law is a very noble profession. The lawyers will always be very respected, and the lawyers are born leaders. Look into our independence struggle. If you look into any lawyer worth his name, any leader worth his name, he happened to be lawyer. Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Patel, Dadabhai Naroji, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, all of them were advocates. The lawyer played a very prominent role during a very dark period of our independent country, that's emergence. If there were no lawyers, believe me, restoration of liberty was not possible. It was because of their active fight for liberty that liberty was restored. Unfortunately, that perception about the lawyers is changing. Lawyers are no longer treated to be, I'm sorry if I'm hurting someone, lawyers are no longer treated to be the leaders. Many seem to agree, but Swift wrote, Jonathan Swift, in one of his Gulliver's Tale. You remember that Gulliver's Tale? In a childhood you read it, he goes to the land of Lilliputians with the dwarf people, 6 inches one, and then in the other story, 2 story you all remember, it's giants were 72 feet tall, but in fact, Swift wrote 4 of them. And in one of them he goes to the land of horses, were very intelligent people, intelligent horses, and there one of them says, it's all satirical, and he says, lawyers are the bread of lawyers are society bred from their youth, proving black is white and white is black according to their. At other place he says they have a typical cant and chanter which only no mortal can understand. Bar Council has to change this perception of the society about the law. And it does not add to it by calling for a strike for a boycott. Actually, it really goes against it. I would just like to quote one. That's Nariman, of course. He is one of the leading legal luminary of the country today. When he writes about India's legal system, can it be saved? I would like to quote from him because I don't want to be misquote him. We demean ourselves in our profession when we resolve to strike work, and so paralyze the working of the courts, tribunals, and statutory authority, where public cases and causes demand our expertise, our intercession, and assistance. Bar Council has to change this disperception about the lawyers in the society. One of the other guiding principles in restoring the high tradition is encouraging the young and respecting the old. And today's function is nothing but respecting the old. And I would like to congratulate the Bar Council of Chhattisgarh for organizing this function, respecting the old. I also wish them my good wishes to them for successful bearing the responsibility which the statute had entrusted on their shoulders and probably we all expect from them. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for those pearls of wisdom.